things on there that say, I had a really bad day at work today, my boss is a jerk. And maybe they just hung up with that person, or the person said, I'm out of work, I can't pay the bill. And so then the next time they call, they can say, last time I talked to you, you said you didn't have a job, so you were unable to pay. And I noticed on your Facebook page that, you've been going to work and you're not happy with your boss, but you're getting a paycheck. And collectors that are part of my Credit and Collections Association have actually done this. And they said that most of the time when they do this, the people are really surprised by this, kind of shocked to hear that.
I was just going to say, it must be a little bit more than surprised.
They are.
Shocked is a better word.
But a lot of them pay because they are caught in a lie, and the only other option is to not pay and avoid the calls and letters. And then, risk having that on your credit report or going to small claims court.
So I suppose perhaps on their Facebook page or wherever it might be, they might post a picture of that new Cadillac they just bought, and I can't afford to pay this bill over here, but I can afford to make a payment on my Cadillac.
Exactly what happened to another collector. He was calling this man who was just telling him he's out of work. And right now that's a common excuse. You're going to believe that. There's so many people out of work. But then when they found this guy's Facebook page, he had his new boat on there and pictures of him with his new boat, and they were, they're dated. If you've ever been on Facebook, you can see that. And, this collector mentioned that to him the next time that they spoke. And he said the guy hung up on him, but he received a check.
That wasn't my boat. That's my neighbor's boat.
Right.
Yeah.
But it works really well, but people don't like that. They don't like that. Bill collectors or business owners are going online and seeing this information.
But you can't prevent it. There's no...
Well, you can. On Facebook, if you have a Facebook page, you can set it to private, and nobody can see it.
One's got to think about that or be advised to do that or whatever.
Exactly.
If they don't think about it, then it goes...
if you owe money to somebody, are you going to be posting on social media? So you need to think about that. And people need to remember that the internet is not private in any way at all.
No, the moment you hit the send button, it's for the world to see.
That's right. Even if you delete something, it's still out there. So I advise people either set your profile to private if you don't like it, or don't post anything online that you don't want your grandmother to see, or don't tell a bill collector a lie and then post something else online, because you don't know who's going to see that.
Of course, one of the other things you talk about too, of course, is using email. Now, email is very easy to avoid. Particularly if you figure out by looking at who it's from or a tagline or whatever you call it there that
right.
No, I don't want to open up that email. That's somebody looking for money.
Exactly. It's easier to avoid than a phone call or a letter, because you can just delete it. You don't have to read it. If somebody calls you, you can say, "Oh, I never received that." Very easy to do. But bill collectors are not really supposed to use email right now, according to the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And many of the
but
bills...
it goes theory and practice again from a legal standpoint. It may say I can't do it. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean I'm not going to try it.
Right, and people are doing it.
And particularly if they get desperate. I mean, somebody owes you $4,500. You've tried this method, that method, what have you. You're just at wit's end. How do I collect my money? So you may try an email.
Well, what I found to be very effective, and a lot of my collection agency clients have found very effective, is to offer an online payment option. Because what do people that owe money fear the most? They fear the confrontation. They don't want to talk to you on the phone. They don't want to have to lie to you. They don't want to make something up. Maybe they don't have the money, maybe they do. But if you can offer a way for them to pay online, and I did this with my collection agency, you will receive so many more payments. Once I did that, I had so many more people just going online and paying me, because then they knew if I got a payment on Monday morning, I wasn't going to call them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe not till the next week.
So there's a little bit of a psychological approach, one might say.
Right, because people, if they can avoid that confrontation, stop the phone calls, stop the letters from coming by just sending you a partial payment online 24/7 whenever they feel like it, they'll do that, because it relieves some of the stress they're under. You're getting paid, so you're not having to now put more effort in, spend time and money trying to collect that money. At least you're getting something.
So that basically would be a way to do it then.
Absolutely.
Now,
I would highly
are there
recommend
other
it.
ways other than social media and email and the phone call? I mean, I suppose letters, but of course people sometimes take a look at the return address, whatever, and they say,
right.
Well, they hold it up to the light. I think that's from a collection agency.
Exactly. So your first task when you're sending a collection letter is really that you want to get the envelope opened. The letter isn't your first priority, because most of the time, like you said, they hold it up or they see the address, it goes in the trash, it doesn't even get open.
If people know they have past due bills, and they're expecting maybe phone calls or maybe something in the mail, probably one of the first things they're going to do is they're going to not only perhaps hold it up, but they're going to look at like a return address or something like that and try to figure out, maybe I don't want to open this up. And what they may well do is just
Exactly.
tear it in half, toss it, and
Exactly.
so there's no response.
Right. And so I have talked to people about what to do in that situation, and what has
What
worked
do
for
you
me.
do?
I've done this.
What's the next option? What's the next
Some other
possibility?
options are, what I've done before is those red, white, and blue flat rate envelopes from the post office that are
Oh, yeah.
free, priority mail. It's $4.50 to mail one. I know that's a lot, but it's less than certified mail, and you can get delivery confirmation. You put your letter in that. This has worked for me 99% of the time, and for my customers. Everyone I
It seems like
asked
a
to do
pretty
this.
high success rate.
Very high success rate. And
But
the
again,
reason
I mean,
is,
if you're the mailman, or in this case, a mailwoman, you're coming to my door and you've got an envelope, whatever. Probably one of the first things I'm gonna say is, well, let me take a look at it. I want to know where it's from before I sign it.
right.
And if I sign it, of course, that goes back to the party that sent it, because then they know you received it. I imagine some people try to avoid the.
They do, and that's why I don't use certified mail, because that's the process for certified mail. With the priority mail envelope, you don't have to have them sign for it, so they receive it. And most people, they
But
get,
can't the people use the defense, for example? I never got it.
if you don't pay the 50 cents for delivery confirmation, they can, and you can't prove it. But if you pay the 50 cents for delivery confirmation, then you have proof that they received it.
Yeah, but because all that proves is it was delivered to the address that was on the
Right.
on the folder or whatever.
Which will hold up in court.
Okay, well, that's a good thing for somebody to know, basically. That,
Right.
it was delivered physically to 50 Smith Street or whatever, to a
Right.
John Jenkins, for example.
Right.
So,
Right, and what you want in that instance, what works is because they're getting all this mail, they're getting all their bills, envelopes, catalogs, and then they have this priority mail envelope, which people get that and they think, oh, what's this? Especially if you don't put the name
yeah, but
of
it
your
doesn't
company.
say Publishers Clearinghouse on the outside, so
Right,
not
right.
particularly going to open it that quickly.
No, but it works. I mean, it's worked very well for me and my clients, because people open that before the rest of their mail because it piques their curiosity and they want to see what's inside.
Okay, well,
And
now
then
I
it's-
got to give you, I think, a good phrase for credit and collection.
Okay.
Try it. It would be basically would be this, quote unquote. Try it, it works, and then in parentheses, it may work. Talking about all of these various techniques, I guess, basically, that you could employ to try to collect the past due balance.
Right. I've also sent collection letters in invitation envelopes, because that works really well, because they're not expecting a collection letter
it's
in
an
there.
invitation to pay your bill or to pay something on it.
Another tip is to handwrite your addresses on there and put it in an invitation, or a different color or a different size envelope, like a larger size envelope, and handwrite the person's address, handwrite your address without your company name on there. That works really well for getting your envelope opened. But then once you've gotten your envelope opened, you still, as soon as they pull it out, if they see it's a debt collection letter, it could go right in the trash. So you really have to then work on your letter.
Well, I mean, it's nice to have 26 different options, I guess. I'm just picking a number, for example, in
Right.
terms of this way, that way, address it this way, don't put a return address or whatever. But again, what really counts is what does the party do that's receiving it?
Exactly.
If they open it, and how do they respond or not respond once they figure out or see what it's all about?
Right, and so if you can get them to open it, that's a huge hurdle you've already made, because it didn't go in the trash. They've opened it. And so then you want to have a great letter, which I have on my CD, letters to include in these envelopes, and I have all that information in there. And on those letters, one of the things I tell people is include the link for people to go online and make a payment. Because now you've gotten their attention, you know, someone's actually opened your letter, they're actually looking at it, and if they see they can just go online and make a payment and stop getting letters from you, maybe stop getting phone calls from you, that's what they'll do. And it has worked tremendously.
Of course, in this day and age, of course, again, having the internet and that sort of thing, being able
Right.
to go online is far superior to, like you say, getting phone calls, and people are
Yeah.
going to think they're even harassing calls. You know,
Right.
well, you called last week about it, now they're calling this week, and like you say, here's an option, I can fill it out, I'll send you $50 a week or $100 a
Exactly.
month. Or,
Exactly. And
whatever.
most companies, if you go online and send $25 and you do that consistently, they will stop calling you completely. I did when I had my agency. I don't want to waste time now making sure you're going to make that payment. You're making the payments. I'm going to
now,
call the
what is
person
the
who's not.
correlation, if there is a correlation, between an unpaid balance, a past due unpaid balance that someone's trying to collect, and simply trying to get them off your back, so to speak, by saying, all right, I'll send them $50 a month or whatever. Supposing they owe $5,000, are they going to accept $50 a month?
You don't have to. And if you don't want to,
Who doesn't have to?
the creditor, the business owner, does not have to accept any amount that you decide you want to pay towards your bill if they don't feel it is sufficient.
Can they send it back?
They can send it
Can
back.
they refuse it?
They can refuse it.
In
I
other
feel
words, can they say, for example, you owe $5,000, somebody's saying, oh, I get this company off my back, I'll pay $50 a month or a week or whatever.
10 years.
Well, it could be longer, but
Right.
but can the people that are trying to collect the money basically refuse it and say, no, we won't take that?
They can, but I wouldn't advise that. And then what their option is at that point is if they want more money per month, is they would have to go through the court system. And depending on the dollar amount and the state they're in, the small claims amounts are different in every state, so it could be a civil suit. But you want to go to court, and you have to be able to say, you know, I know this person can afford more than whatever they were sending you, and they owe this much money.
Well,
it's
of
going
course,
to
going
take
to the
them.
small claims court obviously is going to have to do with some bearing on how much is owed.
Right.
And if they owe $950, you
Right.
know, and you got to file the forms and send somebody to court, and they got to stack this high, for example, and you get there at 10 and they hear the case at 1, they might not want to do it. If they owe $5,000, might be a different story.
Exactly. So it has to be worth your while.
So what other options are there? I mean, we've got all these various possibilities of things you can do. Which is the best? Or does it depend on circumstances?
No, I think the best option is to be on top of it right away. The
Oh, that's
longer you wait.
It just occurred to me, the best option is don't let it get into a past due balance to begin with.
Absolutely. Start calling. I tell people in this economy, start calling before your terms. If your terms are net 30, call it 25 days. Just to say a customer service call, I'm calling to make sure you received the product, you received the invoice, there were no problems with the shipping or the pricing. Because if you wait till 40 days now, oh, I need a proof of delivery, you billed me the wrong price. So you want to try to avoid any excuses you're going to get later.
Stalling tactics.
Exactly, exactly. And so calling ahead, just as a friendly call, that will get you back on the person's mind. And a lot of times when I worked in accounts receivable, if somebody was calling about something, I had a pile of invoices, I pulled that one out, I talked to them on the phone, and when I hung up, what did I do? I didn't stick it back where it was, it went on top. And so now your invoice is on top of the pile. So it could be the next bill to be paid.
Some of the people, though, basically, they get into this type of situation, but you think of, for example, like in a business situation, what I've seen many times in counseling business owners, particularly people who've started up a new business, is theory is great. You should do this, you should do that, you do something else. But some of them, to use an old phrase, are kind of running around like a chicken with a head cut off trying to run their business.
Right.
One moment it's this, another moment it's that. The theory may be great, you ought to do this, you ought to do that, but in actual practice, they get into that situation, and then it's almost like quicksand. They can't get out of it.
Right, and it's different for every business. You have to do what works for you and works for your business and works for the amount of people you have working for you or how much time you have. You know, you have to stay on top of people that you extend credit to. When you extend credit to somebody, you're a bank, and you're letting that person leave without paying you. And so you want to stay on top of those people. And it's your job to do that. It's not the customer's job. And so if you let them get 90 days old, that's really your own fault. You should have been on top of that, before it got that old.
Well, they've got no one to blame but themselves.
Exactly.
Obviously, it's their fault.
Right, and the longer you wait, the harder it is to get paid. You want to just stay on top of it, start with the pre-calling, and then when you're not getting paid, call them. Or if somebody makes you a payment promise, call the day before just saying, I'm calling to verify that you're sending this much money tomorrow to this address. And then when you don't get that payment, you want to call. It's just like babysitting at first. You have to do it. It's like dealing with children. It's just, you have to stay on top of it. You have to let them know this is the precedent you're going to set for your business. And once you do that, down the road, those people will remember, you know what, I'm going to pay this bill because if I don't, this person calls me all the time. I can put this one off because these people never call me. So you want to be the person calling and staying on top of it. And if you start that at the beginning of your relationship with your customer, that will carry through the whole buying relationship that you have with your customer.
Because I've seen situations over the years when you hear stories about people in business, they dealt with ABC company, for example, ran up a bill, then they wanted to go to XYZ company, and of course XYZ has heard about, sometimes people talk about, have you ever dealt with so-and-so, Pete Smith from Smith Brothers, for example? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I've dealt with him, stay away from him.
Exactly. I recently went to Orlando to talk to a seed association about their credit and collections. They sell grass seed to like golf courses and things like that, and they were having trouble getting paid. And what they did, which is a great idea for any industry, is they started their own credit collective. And so it was only for people in the seed industry. So when you get a new customer in your seed store, you can go to this collective. Have any of you
Kind
done
of like
business?
a co-op that all of the members basically can
Right.
join and utilize.
And then you can see, did they pay you on time? How much did they order a month? Their buying history, their payment history, or like you said, or maybe all of a sudden they haven't paid them and that's why they're coming to you. And so that's a great thing for any industry to do within their industry. Anyone can do it. It's almost like your own credit bureau. It's like Equifax, but it's just in your industry, and you can call and get that credit history.
Is that a trend that perhaps we'll see in the future, kind of like within various industries, something like that? That sounds like a great idea.
It is a great idea. It's been going on for many years.
Because it's a lifetime situation. I mean, you've got the seed manufacturers, you could have the people that are, whatever they're doing, they're manufacturing, the people that manufacture soda, for example.
Exactly, right. Any industry can do it. And it's just them. They're networking with these people anyway. Normally, when you're in business, you're networking with other people in your industry. And if you can all get together and share that credit information collectively, it will just benefit all of you.
Yeah, because again, as we talked about before, the people that have dealt with this company run up a balance, can't pay it.
Right.
And all of a sudden they're cut off. Now they need some more of the same product, so now they go to another company, and within this credit collective or whatever, basically find out that, wait a minute, they owe these people money, so I don't want to extend credit.
Right. I think that's a better option than using a credit bureau to pull a credit report for credit, because it's your peers. It's people who are actually working with these customers every day.
Might not even be a better option. It may be the best option.
I think so. I think it's something, it's been going on a long time. Few industries do it, but I feel like more industries need to be doing that, especially in this economy and moving forward.
What sort of industries do you think would best utilize it? Or is it anybody?
I think it's anybody who would extend credit, any service businesses, anything like a glass company, even doctor's offices in a community. You know, it doesn't have to be a nationwide credit collective. It could just be in your community, and just have maybe all the veterinary offices.
So it could be local, it could be state, it could be on a national basis, depending on how you wanted to structure it.
Right, and how much manpower and time you have. And you know, the bigger it gets, the better. But I think even in a smaller community, if all the veterinary hospitals had their own little collective, you know, there's no, I owe that vet money from my last dog, so I'm going to go over here because I have a new cat, because they all talk. And now you can't get around that, and you have to pay that
because they all
vet.
talk, but now basically if you have this collective type situation, it's going to be perhaps on the internet or information and get available so that they know perhaps beforehand not to extend credit to so-and-so or such and such a business because of their past non-performance and paying timely.
Exactly. You can have a secure web page where everyone who's a member of the credit collective can go on there 24/7, check out a customer, or upload information on a customer, good credit and bad credit. It doesn't always have to just be the bad. You can always let people know about the good paying customers.
So what else can you tell us in the credit and collection field that would be of great benefit to our viewers who perhaps run a business, credit and collections, that sort of thing?
I would just tell them that, you know, credit and collections people shy away from. They're horrified when they hear, oh, you're a bill collector, you know, you must not have any friends. But it's not really something you have to be afraid of. It's something that, especially in this economy, you have to embrace. You just have to get information on your customers and remember that the most important tool that you have in collecting money is your relationship with that customer, your communication. As soon as you have no communication, you have cut your chances of getting paid in half or more, because now you don't know why the person's not paying. You don't know if they can't pay or if they're just not going to pay. You don't know what the reason is, and so you can't work with them to try to get paid, and maybe then you report it to the credit bureau. Now it's affecting the credit, and maybe you're taking them to court. But you don't know the situation. So if you can just keep the lines of communication open and offer solutions to people. In this economy, there are more Americans in debt than ever before. And many of them are first-time being in debt people. They've never been in debt before. They've always been doing very well.
Or they could also be further in debt now than they ever had been before.
And they don't know what to do. So they don't answer the phone because they don't know what to say. They don't have the money. When I had my collection agency, I had so many people say to me, oh, I can't believe that I can just make a payment. The only reason I didn't pay this bill was because I thought I had to pay it in full. So letting customers know that there are options. And in this economy, you have to offer options.
I like the option you talked about before, basically, where you could go on a website, for example, on the internet, and perhaps make a payment through PayPal or on a credit card or whatever the case is. Because again, you know, they get frustrated, they get angry, for example, they've gotten 2 or 3 phone calls from this debt collector, whatever. Every time they get a call, probably the frustration, the anger level rises some more.
Right.
So basically, here's an option for, well, gee, I could send $50 a month, and they accepted it.
Right, and you can do it online.
Get those nasty calls again.
Right, and people are embarrassed. I mean, I've been in debt myself before. You know, no one likes to have a bill collector calling them. You know when you owe money. You don't like to owe money. People don't like to be behind. They already feel bad. And then with the perception of bill collectors being like this bad, screaming, evil person on the other end of the phone, who wants to pick up that call? Especially when you're already feeling terrible about your situation, and especially if you can't pay in full. So if a bill collector can somehow call you and just not be a jerk, and give you options. I tell people, try to have at least 2 solutions ready. Let the person who owes the money have a hand in choosing which solution works best for them. Because when they have a hand in choosing one of the options, there's more likelihood they will pay because they were part of the solution.
Yeah, obviously, as opposed to say the either-or situation.
Right, you have to pay this.
Where they kind of demand, well, you've got to pay $75 a month or else, so to speak.
Yeah, and if the person can't, then they're not going to. And they're going to say, okay, do what else, or else. But if you can offer those options, offer a couple, 2 or 3, 2 if you can't come up with 3, and let them choose which one works better for them.
Because another option might be, for example, offer 2, for example, say $100 a month. I'm not sure I can afford that. How about $75 a month? Maybe the third option might be, what do you think you could afford?
Yes.
In a very pleasant, polite
Exactly.
manner, that sort of thing.
And another thing that I tell people to do is when you're making those calls and you offer that solution, if you say $100 a month and they say, oh, I can't afford that, say, okay, how about if we do $75 for the first 3 months and then we'll reevaluate. Maybe at that point you can do the $100 a month. So you could start off with a lower payment, and then, a lot of times people say, well, my unemployment's going to be coming through, or I have a job interview, I'll be getting more money. And so you don't have to be stuck in that small payment amount for a long time. Just make sure that you set a time limit for it. You have to follow up and get back in touch with them, and then you want to raise those payments. And another good thing to do is, instead of getting payments monthly, which everybody does, is try to get payments twice a month, even if the payment's a little less than what you were looking for monthly in the beginning, because getting a payment twice a month just keeps you in that person's mind. They're paying you twice a month.
That's a great thought.
Yeah, and
probably a lot of people haven't thought about that.
Right.
So from a psychological standpoint, twice a
Right.
month is far better than the once a month.
Right, because most of their bills are paying once a month. If they're paying you twice a month and they miss one payment and you call, that keeps them on track with you, because they don't want to hear from you. Whatever they have to do to not hear from you, they will try to do. Like going online to make a payment or sending that smaller amount. And then just follow up with them in 3 months and say, this has been working out great. We need to up your payment just $25 more. And then if it's twice a month, now you're getting $50 more a month than you were getting before.
Because I suppose there's another answer, another solution perhaps, or a proposed solution for a lot of people that particularly run a small business, maybe hire a part-time bookkeeper. It's one of the things that I've seen so many times on a small business, and you kind of touched upon this maybe earlier. Somebody that runs a business is good at perhaps selling, they're good at what they do, repairing or whatever the service is, but they're not good at making collection calls.
Right.
And if they hired somebody, for example, that could kind of stay on top of it, it's kind of like networking sometimes. You find many people in business that so scared of trying to network with somebody. And that, they can alleviate that by doing it maybe a different way. But again, from a collection standpoint, if they had like a part-time bookkeeper that could remind them that this company owes you some money, let me make a call in place of you making it, where you might get angry or upset.
Right. And a lot of times that's a great idea, because that bookkeeper or the person doing the collecting for you, they don't have that emotional attachment that you might have with this customer. This customer was probably your customer when you first started. You have a relationship with them. Maybe you extended credit to them because it's your son's little league coach and you didn't have them fill out any paperwork. That happens quite often. And now they're not paying. You don't want to call because you see this guy at games.
The person that I don't know, I have fill out the credit application.
Right.
With the people that I've known for years, or it's my next door neighbor, I'll just let them, and they're the
Right.
ones that create the problem.
Right.
Many
Those are
times.
usually the biggest problems. You want to always have family members, friends, anybody in your community fill out a credit application. And you're in business to make money. They know that. They're in business too. And if they have a problem filling out anything, you don't want them for a customer.
Well, Michelle, it's been a real pleasure having you on Business Beat Live. You're having written the book, The Guide to Getting Paid, Weed Out Bad Paying Customers, Collect on Past Due Balances, and Avoid Bad Debt. And then the other one, The Ultimate Credit and Collections Handbook, with the subtitle, The Check Is in the Mail. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being on Business Beat Live.
Thank you.
And once again, for our viewing audience, Michelle's website is www.michelledunn.com. This is Business Beat Live. Good night.